Hello, I am Lise Colucci, and I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where it's very bright. Wow, it's cool. As soon as I do that. All right, I've got to move my chair. I'll do that some other time. Anyway, we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. Hello, everybody. Today, let's talk a little about how we discovered that we were being abused and how we what it felt like and how you can't unsee that. So let's talk about that a little bit today. Before we start, I want to say, go ahead and hit subscribe if you have not already done so and you enjoy these live programs so that you get notifications when they come on. You can also text me at 33222, put the words Lise Live, Liselive, all one word, and you will get notifications. It'll be the only notification I send, and it'll be about 5 to 10 minutes before I go live. And if you enjoy this topic, hit the thumbs up so I know which topics people want to hear about and are useful. So anyway, here we go. So let's get started. Sorry, it's so bright. I really ought to, let me try this. Nope, that's gonna work. It's not gonna work. Just gonna be bright and glowy and shiny and sunshine girl. Okay. All right, here we go. How did you discover that you were being abused? How did you discover that it wasn't just a normal relationship? What was it? Was there a key moment? Was there something that happened? Did somebody say something to you? What was it? How did you guys learn, figure out, understand that this wasn't healthy? This wasn't normal, so to speak. And what was that like for you? And then what did you do afterwards? That's my question to you guys. I had just had a story published. I will put it in the main comment section as soon as we're done here. I forgot to do that beforehand. Anyway, just published a story talking about my own journey with that at least one time. And I want to add a little more to it. I'll just talk a little bit about it briefly because people have asked for stories of disclosure of my own stuff, and I'll give it to you. So basically, what I wrote about was more in depth. So I'm just going to say briefly that after a confusing, befuddling, absolute nonsense of an argument that made no sense to my brain because I don't understand why a person needs to argue about things that are not necessarily an issue. You know what I'm saying? So basically, after a long, heated gaslighting session, which at the time I thought was me not understanding the situation. And so me being who I am, I'm trying to figure it out, trying to puzzle it together, trying to people please, trying to do all the things to smooth the waters, so to speak, right? I can't remember what it was about. I think I wrote what it might have been about in the article, but I can't honestly remember because it was more nonsense. It was like the same nonsense that had been going on for at least a year, but to an extreme where it was somehow contrasted with, it made no sense why it was happening. Does that, you know what I'm talking about? When you're being gaslit and there's no reason for an argument. You're having a perfectly decent, fine time. And there it is. And there's no reason. And you're in a puddle on the floor. You're just a mess, right? So I'm sitting there just a mess. Like I can remember hyperventilating, running to the bathroom, feeling like throwing up. I'm not sure I actually did, but I can remember like literally laying on a bathroom floor, which is disgusting, and sobbing and unable to stand up, freaking out. I'm pretty chill. To get me there takes a lot, honestly. I can remember this and thinking, what did I do wrong? How can I fix it? I've ruined everything. I'm, me. I did all the bad things, right? And then thinking, wait a minute, what actually happened? And being so confused. You guys know what I'm talking about? Anyway, and then being told to leave, that I'm hysterical, I'm crazy, I am, all these things, right? And being told to leave their place, that I'm being abused. I'm not, what word wasn't abused? I'm being unkind and rude, and that won't be tolerated. So leave. While I'm hysterical. So I gathered my stuff and left. And I remember sitting in the car, I'm laughing. It's not funny. I remember sitting in the car and talking to a friend on the phone because I couldn't drive. I was too freaked out, and describing what happened. And she said it was such a mess. What I was saying made no sense. And the only conclusion she could come to was this was abusive. She said, it sounds like you're dealing with emotional abuse. And she said, have you thought of that? And in that moment, I couldn't unsee it. I could not unsee it. It was something in her, just plain blunt, just like kind of emotionless response, right? That threw a mirror up, and I couldn't unsee it. So what is it for you guys? And what happens when you see that point? At that point, it took years to get out for me. Okay, it took years. And I say get out, I don't mean I had to flee and it was this, it was not a situation of extreme covert narcissism, altruistic, vulnerable. It didn't look like what it is, right? So it took a lot of seeing and seeing and seeing again for me and therapy to get to where I was able to leave that situation. And frankly, that's a whole nother story. Okay. But the point is, once you see it, what do you do? What do you do? At that point, I began researching what the heck is going on. What is it? I'd already been researching attachment styles because I thought it was an attachment style issue. And I was trying everything in that argument to use the information I had been learning about how to talk to someone with an extremely avoidant attachment style and the type of avoidance that he had, which we now know is narcissism. But at the time, I'm thinking, oh, he's just got issues with attachment. Okay, I can work with that. No. So anyway, okay, I'm going to read some of this and then I'll come back to the fact that you can't unsee it. Okay. It was the greatest revelation I ever had, said Belle, isn't it? It's horrible and it's great. Yeah. I was amazed and surprised that what I was going through was something that had a name, and it was Angie. I had no therapist tell me, thanks to all of you. So great. Why did you even look for help though? Something before that clued you in. What was it? I mean, yes, the revelation of when you discover what it actually has a name, but what clued you in before that? Because what I'm hoping to help people with is looking for the clues ahead of time, not waiting for the giant revelation to hit, right? And I'll tell you mine after this. I should have listened to, hello, web education. Hannah, hello. My ex did the exact same thing. Get me to the point where I was crying hysterical and then say I was too dramatic and to leave until I was calm. He said my tears were me trying to manipulate him. Oh, yes, that's exactly what I was told. I will not take your manipulation and your crying. Get out. And I don't think he talked to me for 3 days after that. So that was the worst, the most extreme of his silent treatments and mini discards, The covert ones are the worst. Yes. Took me 3 years to even realize what was going on. Yes, exactly. It was 2.5. That was the story I just told was at about 2.5 to 3 year point. It does take a long time. I wish I had a friend who would call it that. For me, Googling Sam Vaknin video. So what led you to Google anything? That's what I'm curious about. What led you to think something's not right here? And I'm wanting people to realize we have the capacity to see something is wrong within us. Like my friend saying that, excuse me, I can't talk today. Okay, my friend saying that was what woke me up, but I had so many clues before then that I didn't, it's not the red flags that I'm speaking of, not clues into his behavior, clues into my own intuition about what was going on that I'll talk about in a second. And maybe I'm just hoping to help people who are just coming to realize this, see more and more the truth of what they're living so that they can find a way to plan to get away. Okay. I thought mine was an avoidant too, but it wasn't. He lacked empathy. That's right. Such a powerful point. What are you saying? What's powerful? Once you know, you can't unknow. Exactly. Hello, fashion family. I discovered I was being abused when I watched one of your videos about narc rage and the narc's true self, false self masks. Yeah. And again, what led you to even look for the videos? I mean, something's going on, but what are you picking up an intuition? Are you seeing things that are happening? What's happening in your life that leads you to that? She was fake for 20 years. Then we had a child, and she figured she owned me. Her true abusive self came out. Isn't that interesting when the life shift happens? It happens also when they hit, I'm sorry, but midlife crisis is real, and it happens then. Oh, okay. Stay away from the male 40-something narc. Stay away from the narcissist anyway, but wow. Yeah. It's like the teenager is revamped, and there's more. So anyway, and with women too, but my experience is more with. Okay. Something of Angie's channels appeared as a suggested video. Okay. Based on my past searches. I'm so grateful I found all of you. I was in such, so I guess all of that pays off. All those searches and all the fact that they're taking all our info, right? I Googled, why does he rage? Okay. So you were sensing that it wasn't you, right? I Googled lack of empathy and I got BPD, and then it ran across Angie. Excellent. Okay. Angela, hello. They like to call sadness manipulation. It's awful. They do. They do. So I'll go back further. And what I didn't write about was the clues I had ahead of time. So let's talk about that. So in case I'm just doing a me day today, because somebody asked me to, and I don't like doing this, but I'll do it anyway. And feel free to chime in with a you thing, and I will happily go there instead. All right. So going back, if I had looked at the past, if I look back further, I had 2 experiences with 2 different therapists. So I was having panic attacks for about a year, which is not entirely out of my norm. You know, I have an anxious stuff going on, and I do tend to go there with my body. You know, it tends to panic. So not so much now. Honestly, I haven't had one since healing. Woo-hoo. But okay. But so I was having like extreme panic attacks all the time for no reason. Just like there didn't seem to be a reason. And instead of being a comforting source of support, he told me if I didn't get help, he'd leave. So, trauma bonded, totally in love, completely crazy, right? It's you do what they say, right? You do it. You think, oh my gosh, it's me. This is what's causing all the problems, is because I'm so anxious. Well, the truth was, obviously we know now, the reason I'm anxious is because of the love bomb and devalue cycle going on over and over and over, messing with your nervous system, right? That coupled with the lack of commitment and the lack of structure a relationship with a narcissist has. It throws you. If you're anxious at all, you're going to hit your ceiling with anxiety. That's just normal. So that's what it was. But so of course I did it. But the beauty is, and if I had listened, I could have saved years. The beauty is, so I went to a clinic just for this, just an anxiety clinic. I didn't want to deal with the emotional stuff. I just wanted to fix, you know what I mean? Like I was sick of talk. I've been to therapists in my life. It's not a big deal. I'm not afraid of them, but I wanted something more specific, just something to like really get to the panic stuff without, relying on medication or anything, because I didn't feel like that was necessary. So anyway, she did an intake, and the whole point of the intake it's not talk therapy. They do, they teach you about anxiety. I mean, I learned so much about anxiety. They teach you about panic. They teach you what's going on with your body. It was a whole thing. It was immersive. They immerse you in the thing that causes anxiety and then help support you through it. So it was this whole program, right? First thing she said, after the intake, she said, okay, describe any interpersonal relationships you have in your life. I gave her literally a 2-minute synopsis in the best light I could possibly give it. I described this relationship in the way we do when we're protecting the narcissist, without knowing we're protecting them. The way we do when we're like, oh, they're great, this and that. She said, oh, so you're in a classic codependent narcissistic abuse relationship. And I just brushed it off because I thought, how can she know that from that description that I gave? I'm not stupid. I know why now that she can, because she sees it over and over, and it was clear. And she didn't go into it, and I kind of wish she had pushed that a little bit, but she didn't. So But anyway, there's one clue. People tell us, we get clues, is my point. What are your clues? What were your clues? And I'm not doing this so that we shame ourselves. It's that other people who are in this and are just like tuning into this or stumble upon this video and they're not sure what's going on, they can trace back the little clues in their own life so that they can see the truth. It's horrible that it has to come to some big monumental, like, horrible experience in order for us to actually wake up to the truth, but sometimes it does. And sometimes it can be applying a little logic and actually looking at it for what it is, and with all the education. So Belle is saying, I never heard of anything of narcissism. I was looking for rage, anger outbursts, abuse, all of those things. Yeah. Hi, Vicky. What education? She would go on and on and on about how much of a narcissist her brother was. So I decided to look up narcissism. And lo and behold, I started to see many similarities, but my threshold of what was normal was broken. And yes, that's the other way I knew something was up. So true, right? And that's exactly it, is my threshold was high because I didn't know normal. I didn't know healthy. Let's put it that way. This was normal. So, okay. Oh, Lise, the panic attacks was one of my greatest challenges and still is. It's a horrible cycle, of course. I believed it was always my fault. You're in a stressful situation. It's because you're smart and your body is saying, get out, get out, get out. To me, that's what the panic attacks are saying. And they, got to work on understanding the mechanism of them and being able to talk yourself down, meditation, all kinds of ways to ground yourself with the panic. But we could let's do a talk on anxiety soon. I think we should do that, don't you? Okay. How long does it take to stop that ungrounded floating in space feeling? Do any of you have this? I find it exhausting. Angela, are you still involved with a narcissistic person, or are you out of the situation? What's going on personally? So, because if you're still exposed to things that make you dissociate, what you're describing as a dissociative feeling, and if you're still exposed, you're separated. Okay. So you still have contact because you're working through the separation. Maybe. If you're still exposed to, let's just, for people who are still exposed, and you're still exposed to it, that dissociative feeling is a coping mechanism. You're being financially controlled. Right. So that makes sense why you would have the stress response, right? And the dissociative response to the stress. So I would suggest finding things to come back into your body. It can go away, yes, but you can also work to help yourself speed up that process, right? Or to actually have coping skills that are different. In other words, what that is a coping mechanism so that you don't have to process everything that's happening all at once. And it's like your emotional defense system, right? To go into this floating in space feeling. Taking walks. I think he sabotages my job search, but I can't prove it. Okay, so things that can help are things that get you into your body. Taking walks, mindfulness practices, yoga, Pilates, anything that's core exercise that brings you down into your body more. Stretching even, anything. Running, walking to get your heart pumping and your blood flowing and your breathing deep. Meditation, like I said, short meditation sessions, unless you are a practiced mindfulness practitioner type of person, because it can be overwhelming too to do that, especially if you're floating away. Just like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Find some videos on short meditations and follow them so you don't have to do it on your own. Things like that can help to get you in your body, using your senses, paying attention to what you're smelling, what you're seeing, carry along something that smells nice to you, things to get you into your sensory experience of yourself can help ground you a lot, and help you and recognizing when you're floating away. Okay, I'm just dissociating. It's okay. And because if you go into the panic about what it feels like to panic, then it's just perpetuating the panic. Does that make sense? Yeah. So here's the point. Anxiety. I'll do my quick anxiety talk off topic here, but that's okay because it's on topic for you, and that's important. Your emotions. Okay, triangle. Whoop. Your emotions are one point, your body is another point, and your mind is another point. Okay, and pretend they're attached by rubber bands. Okay, and they're on movable pegs. I'm not going to do this very well, and it's bright. But so if your mind goes into something, and it pulls you upward. Okay. Say upward is anxiety, down is more grounded, pulls you upward. Your emotions get involved in that thought because that's what happens. They pull upward. These are attached by rubber bands, and this guy's holding on. Your body's like, but I feel pretty good. Wham, it goes right back up. So everything escalates. You can't necessarily go straight at the emotions often, because they're the ones what happens is we get up there and we either completely detach from what we're feeling or we overfeel what we're feeling. Does that make sense? Often. And so then when or we assign a new feeling, like I'm freaking out about this horrible feeling I have. When really what's the matter is you're freaking out because he's got financial control of you, right? So, and you can't control the emotions about that. They're just going to do what they do. Emotions I think of as like the water, right? They're just going to swell and then recede. That's just what emotions do. But your mind and your body, you have some little pieces of the ability to learn to control it a little bit, or at least help it along the way toward where you'd rather be, which is down here in a more grounded space. So finding ways to work with your body, and then at the same time talking to yourself about, I'm choosing to calm down now. I'm choosing to think about this instead, redirecting your thoughts. If you can't identify the source of the anxiety, then what does it matter if you choose some other thought? If you can identify the source of anxiety, maybe look at what you're believing about it and try and work with the belief. So, so that your belief is more realistic and more toward the positive. Does that make sense? Okay. I hope so. But I think we should talk about anxiety on another day because that's a good one. All right. His friend said to me once, this is Gwen, so good to meet the wife. I don't know how you do it. His cousin's new fiance said out of the blue, wow, he's so manipulative. That's how you figured it out? Gwen, is that how that was like part of the discovery? Bella says, wow, I cannot believe you found a therapist who had any idea of NPD. I've been in therapy with this therapist for 3 years. Well, are you talking to me or somebody else? If you're talking to me, I was extremely fortunate that we have one here. The one that said that was almost like it was almost like she was more of a clinician and not so much a therapist. Does that make sense? Like she was more on the logical, clinical side of things. Like, let's just get this anxiety under control no matter what your life situation is. Which I totally appreciated for that situation. However, what I needed was someone also to say, okay, now let's figure out how to get you out of this relationship because you're in deep, girl, right? So I've had two that understood. So then the second story was I went a year later I realized that the anxiety was somewhat under control, and because of the work I did with her a little bit, and also the situation, you know how it changes, it comes and goes with the narcissist. So I went and I was thinking, well, I'm at that age where, life changes are good and I don't know where I'm going with my life. What do I want to do? That kind of thing, where it wasn't like I need serious therapy, I'm freaking out. It was more like maybe a therapist can help me figure out, a good direction for my life kind of thing. The way you might use a life coach or whatever. So I went to someone that was recommended, super amazing woman. And instead of talking about what I wanted to talk about, we ended up talking about the relationship because something clued her into a red flag. And she said, you might want to take a look at the toxicity of that relationship. And she said, okay, we can go back to you. And we went back to what I was talking about, but I didn't hear it then either. Okay. And that's the point. We hear it over and over. So what is the thing that actually clicks it over? I don't know. For me, it took a lot, but, I think listening to your instinct, learning to trust your instincts and learning to trust yourself is very difficult when you're in the middle of abuse because you're already knocked down to not believing or trusting yourself. And you're already trusting parts of yourself. You're going against the part of yourself that the intuition is screaming, get out. I had that intuition from day one, right? I knew from the beginning something was off, but the anxiety I felt, I mistook for excitement or for like, I know now what connection feels like. I didn't know then. Okay. And I thought that pull toward that person, the love bomb pull, I'm talking about the hook they grab into your heart immediately and yank you with. I thought that was what it was. Okay. But it isn't. That's knowing now that was a big old red flag. So understanding, it's hard to do when you're in the middle of it is what I'm getting at. And believing in what you're seeing as is actually what you're seeing is super important. And I keep saying it over and over and over every day, that we have to accept what's in front of us for what it is and not try to cover up for it. We shouldn't be making excuses for our partner, ever. Honestly, they should be able to be accountable, right? So there's something that you can look at that's way, way off when you realize you're making excuses even for yourself, even within yourself about that person. Okay, kind of going in circles here a little bit. So hit me up with some questions about this, or tell me your stories, because I'm done talking about me. All right. Didn't take long researching to realize he was a narcissist, and my ex-husband was too. Then the ex broke me. The close friend who passed away just saw my vulnerability and exploited it. Oh. Had the therapist you saw been in that type of situation before? Maybe that's how she knew. I think, no, I don't know. I think she was an extremely intelligent, kind of logical person. Like, oh, well, that's just 1 + 1, it equals 2. Codependent narcissist goes together. Of course you're anxious. Let's figure out the anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was as deep an intuition as it was more of an insight of, to her, it was just writing on the wall, what she was looking at. I think that's what it was. Oh, I missed the first part. A close friend who was driving me crazy passed away suddenly. A mutual friend called to offer sympathy and said, but it was an abusive relationship and the lights went off for me. And you Googled and found Angie. That's fancy. Okay. You feel in the present now. Good, Angela. Okay. Let's see. Vicky says, I keep scented lotion with me, and when I dissociate, I put it on and smell my hands. Yes, exactly. You're using your senses to bring yourself back, and getting into your body. The quickest way to your body is through, smell. Smell's a fast one, gets you into your emotions and your body. Touch, putting your feet in water, that gives you, if you could get somewhere where you can put your hands in cold water, even like a sink, that's 2 things in one. You're getting the sensation of the water, and you're getting the actual water itself can be really grounding for a lot of empathic people. So hi, Kay Kobe. I love having you. Thank you. Let's see. I'm glad it helps. Gwen, no, but the validation. I have been on a 20-year quest for someone else to see it. We see it. You have found the holy grail of it. Yes, we see it. We see that you are in it. And yeah, and it's real. It's real for you, and your experience is completely 100% as you believe it is. Okay. All right. We're in therapy now together, and he's lying and turning on the charm. It's so fake. Oh, Colleen. Be careful what you say in therapy, okay? Be really, really careful. Everything will be used against you. Everything will be used to manipulate you. And the situation will be turned on you if you're in therapy with a toxic narcissistic person. All right. The therapist can likely see it, maybe, and sometimes they can't. You just can't know. You can't know how to trust it, really. Just be really careful, okay, with what you say and how much you reveal within a therapeutic situation with a narcissist. Or go find your own therapist on your own as well. Give them the same scenario and see if there's any contrast between what's happening in one therapy and the other, and see if it's even worth it to keep going with a narcissist in therapy. We know they can't change, okay? We know they don't have empathy. Or in the very, very best case scenario, they're not NPD and they have low empathy. All right. But is low empathy enough to create a loving relationship with someone? Is it enough for you to feel satisfied in your life and happy and fulfilled and be met as an equal? So it's dangerous for you. And so that's why I'm saying this. And so be careful. And we're here. Okay. And a lot of us try it. And so I'm not judging you at all. I'm just saying to be careful. Gwen says, I Googled rage and then saw Grannon, Dana, and Vaknin. Okay. Excellent. It jumped. Colleen is saying, I totally keep seeking validation from outside when I know what he is. Do you have a list of the things that he's done to you, that he does on a regular basis? What would help you? What do you want me to talk about that would help you see it? What would help you feel validated? What are some of the things he does? I'll just do videos on those because I always look for topics. So if it's like he gaslights all the time, I'll do a gaslighting video. I don't care. Whatever you need to help you see what's going on in your life. I mean, I don't know. I'm not there, right? But speaking in general about it is what helps, right? Speaking in general and talking about other people's stories is what helps us feel the validation. We do need the validation from the outside because we don't trust ourselves. And it's really, really hard to learn to trust yourself when you're within a narcissistic relationship. So that's why I'm suggesting therapy or coaching on your own to help you find your feet underneath you and trust your own intuition and your own instincts about what's going on and about what you want for your life, okay? And about your worth. There you go. That's the part we need. Okay. Something was off. Okay. Nikki says, my first clue was when I hid stuff from my ex. When I hid stuff my ex did from my family. That is great, Nikki. I like that example. You're like the best example giver all the time. Okay, because when we are constantly making excuses, when we're constantly taking on the accountability factor for the narcissist, when we're the ones hiding the reality that we live, that is your biggest clue that something is going on, I think. It's huge. Yeah, I can remember his sister saying something, making a comment that I know was a passive-aggressive attempt to get me to say the truth. You know what I mean? A covert attempt to say I know what's going on. Not covert in a bad way, just covert in a sly way, so that she didn't come out, because he was right there. She didn't come out and say, you don't let her think for herself. It was something like, maybe you can decide what we're going to eat. It was that kind of thing, like, because, we're never allowed to make a decision, and we're in fact supported in our inability to make decisions once we get to the point where we can't make them anymore. They like that. They like to have that control. So anyway, she made some comment and gave me a look, and I knew, and of course I made an excuse immediately, something like, oh, but I totally love trying new foods, so why don't you guys do it? In other words, I like when he chooses, because he always chooses something unique and interesting. Partially true, totally covering up for him. And inside, what does that do to you? It gives you a sense of shame, it lowers your self-worth. It does all kinds of stuff. So that's a really big one. When you notice yourself hiding things or making excuses for the narcissist, or for anyone, really. E-Rock Freedom, hello. I feel so angry. I'm trying to heal, applying for jobs. I had an SSD appointment by phone. And because I needed to break free financially after years of financial dependency and financial control, they lost me in their system. And the next time they could schedule me was a month later from now. Oh my gosh. Keep moving forward. That's right. Whatever you do, whatever you can. I'm sorry. Ugh. It's just insult to injury, isn't it? Ugh. Yeah. I would tell someone, web education, I would tell someone new to find out what is abuse and what is not even the subtle things. Like maybe to find a list of these things and to trust their gut. Yeah. Even if it looks, smells. And that, if it looks, smells, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Yes, exactly. Trust your gut and trust what the person in front of you is offering, regardless of whether they're toxic or not, right? Whoever's in front of you is offering you themselves of who they are. And narcissists hide it, but they give you clues. And some of the clues are just in the fact that they're love bombing and devaluing you. And that's not healthy. So, and of course, that's hard to know if you don't know it's not healthy. So how do you figure that out? How does someone new figure it out? Let's see. Hi, Erica. You Googled emotional abuse after family members suggested it. I found Angie's videos on Hoover's, love bombs, discard, rage, silent treatment. And then I went, oh, light bulb. It was a dim light bulb. Almost a year to see it bright. Well, that's the blurry. That's part of it too, is that, like I said, it was almost 3 years after that moment of discovering it that I actually was free from it. So we're also extremely persistent in thinking we can fix things, and it takes a while to get it. It just does for some of us, especially if we're used to it, or if we've had it in the past, or if we grew up with something that is lacking the basis of a healthy childhood. I feel scared to watch Vaknin. Well, I don't watch him. I didn't, and I don't. I don't watch narcs. I don't care. I don't care what they think. I know what they think. I've lived with them. I studied them. I don't need to hear it from their lying mouths. And I don't know how much of what he says is true. I mean, yeah, it's useful for a lot of people, but I don't go there. Sorry, not doing it. Let's see. Okay, I'm missing things. Okay. The hardest part for me, says Fashion Family, was to accept that my partner, who is supposedly loves me, is intentionally hurting me. My heart screams it's not true, but my head says wake up and smell the coffee. Okay, that's the cognitive dissonance, right? And that's part of trauma bonding. I can only speak from the other side. Can only speak from the other side and tell you that listening to logic is your friend there. Listening to the logical side of yourself that sees it is the emotions are pulling you under because we want so much to believe in what we've built. We want so much to believe in the love we have for the person. We want so much to believe it's about, well, our needs to be loved and cared for, but it's also a whole lot of stuff all mixed in, right? So that's why lists help of the abuse, writing it down, journaling what you're feeling, looking at it. Like journal and listen to yourself. Listen to your intuition and trust it. And it isn't an easy thing to get away. It just isn't. So understand that what you're just describing there is cognitive dissonance. And we have to listen to our head. We just do. We have to look at the fact that life is, if you look at life linearly, we have X amount of years on the planet. And how many more do you want to spend in misery? I mean, that's a simple way to look at it, right? All right, because it's not going to change, unfortunately. What if Gwen says, what if 50% of your life itself is good and you don't value your love life enough to give it up? Maybe that's what's going on with me. Okay, this is good. This is good, Gwen. When I can say the reason I didn't get out, I'm just going to do the me thing just because I started that way and now my head's there. The reason I didn't take that moment, take the information that my friend gave me, reflect it back to the 2 times that actual therapist said something about it and do something about it, is I didn't value what was on the other side. I didn't have enough value for what it could be, right? And we have to look at, what do we fear? What do we fear about leaving? Why is it not partially why we don't value our love life enough? Why we don't value, why we take the bad with the good is that we're not often, we're dissociated so much that we're not actually feeling the bad at its worst. All right. And we're only feeling the good at 50%. Right. So, and the reason we're feeling the good is because the bad sets up the good. You're feeling the good because all that bad, and then you get a good is like the contrast is so great that it's a trauma bond thing where it immediately releases all the chemicals in your body that you need to feel good. So you're on a chemical loop, right? You're on a loop of chasing that. You're not even chasing it. You're just allowing the bad. And then when the good comes, bam, you get the good feeling. And it's kind of addictive. It is addictive. It's trauma bonds. So we have to use our minds with this stuff. If we don't, we just float through. It's so easy to tolerate. We have the highest tolerances for crap, really. We have the highest tolerances for being treated poorly. They would never be treated the way that we are treated, ever. Not even for 5 minutes, right? They have zero tolerance for it. Is that a good thing? It is a good thing for them. It's not good for the rest of us. But you see, there's a balance in there somewhere where we can learn to tolerate some things that are appropriate, and we can learn what is inappropriate to tolerate. Why does it keep doing that? Okay. So your tolerance is high is what I'm hearing. Your tolerance for abuse. And because it doesn't matter enough, because the good's good enough. So it has to get more uncomfortable sometimes, as what it did for me. It has to get more uncomfortable than the comfortable feeling of the blah, right? You get used to the 50% life, and it has to get so uncomfortable to be there. And the way you do that is you start building in things that actually feel better outside the relationship. You things for yourself. You build self. And as you build self, you tolerate less of somebody's shenanigans and abuse, right? I would tell them to get a book or watch videos on covert narcissism. You would tell someone new. Yes. It was also weird that they wouldn't bring up their childhood story to explain away the things they just did. Oh, because that's lack of accountability. It's someone else's fault that I'm this way, right? The gut never lies. That's right. That's right. But it's also how to listen to the gut, because I used to think that when I felt anxious, it was because of me. It was something I was doing. So I wasn't trusting myself. What I realized is that what my gut was saying was, get the hell out of there. So, all right. So it's a matter of adjusting your brain and your intuition to line up with what you need for your life. Kept me up every night for 5 nights in a row when I exploded saying I needed sleep. He said he doesn't have insomnia and acted shocked. Said I'm abusive and I owe him an apology. That's so familiar. I can tell you that, yeah, so familiar, so familiar. Sleep abuse is awful. It's awful because it's a downward spiral into you looking like the crazy person. It's the downward spiral into you not being able to keep your cool. You're not being able to maintain and manage even daily functioning, and let alone the toxic baloney they're pulling, right? So sleep abuse is awful. Okay. Nikki Ann. Oh, I think it's important to notice if you're trying to guilt them into feeling bad for what they've done to you. After my ex body shamed me, I spent a week trying to make him feel bad. Of course, we play the game back, right? Of course, it's a relationship. We're trying to relate. That's the thing. When we do things back in reactive abuse, when we do out of reactive abuse, when we do things back just out of reaction, we're in a relationship. We're trying to relate. They're in a game of supply. They're not trying to relate. So you got to give yourself some slack there. Give yourself some compassion. Let's put it that way. That all you were doing was trying to be in a relationship, and you were trying to figure out how to make it work, and how to be heard, and how to be treated right. And if they're not going to hear you by saying that hurt my feelings, don't say that. That hurt. That, why would you say that to me? If that's not going to be heard, of course we find other ways. So, hello, Mo Cowboy. Okay, let's see. Hello, Jack. Oh, Lise, my gut told me so hard that I started throwing up when I was sleeping. Yeah, I can totally get that. Iraq, can you be trauma bonded to a scenario or situation that are unhealthy and maladaptive because of your programming? Yes. I think personally I was less trauma bonded to the actual person than I was the cycle of trauma bond. Does that make sense? Like, that is what I know. That's what I know of love. And so therefore, because we all want and strive to be loved, that is what I'm seeking. Not anymore, but you know what I mean? That's what my programming tells me is it's the scenario and the situations and the cycle of the maladaptive behaviors that feel like love. Is that making sense? Okay, it makes sense. All right. So yes, absolutely. I think ultimately I can trace it back to certain people, the narcissist in your life. Yes, exactly. To the patterning. For a lot of us, that's what it is. That's why it's not simple. That's why it's not like, oh my gosh, this is crappy, I'm leaving. This is normal. Is it worse than the other ones? No, it's not as bad. In some ways it's better. In some ways, we weigh it and we justify it because it's normal for us. That's what we perceive as normal. So I have such trouble understanding how to trust my gut instinct. Iraq Freedom, when you're still in an abusive situation, it can be really difficult because you're going against your gut just to be there. Does that make sense? Like, if you're going against your instinct, of course you don't trust it. That isn't to say you can't learn to trust it. Learn to trust it in other ways. Pay attention in life where you, outside of that relationship, where you can see like, oh, that person seems kind of, like they don't have my best interest at heart. I'm not going to talk to them, some random person. Or look for situations where you are able to experience your instincts that are unrelated to the narcissist. Look for good ones, positives. Oh, that's a good friend. I can totally rely on them to be there when I don't feel well or whatever, like something. And I can trust that because they have proven it. And not only do I feel like I trust them, but they've proven they're trustworthy. Therefore, it matches. So look for the places where it matches outside of, don't look for it within the narc relationship or your home life, because it's not going to be there because you're going against it. You're going against your gut when you're with someone like that. It just is. Excuse me. Your words woke me up. It's similar to gambling. Lose, 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 and then win. Bam. It's oxytocin release. You get a hit of good, really good feelings and desire for more. Trauma bond. That's exactly what it is. It's pulling a slot machine over and over and over, and then bam, you get the win. And that win can be like $5 and it doesn't matter. It's just the sound of the coins falling, right? All right. Throat today. Hello, Bonnie. I was swimming with sharks. Yes, you were. Narcissistic family, but I finally had enough. And now 8 months, no contact. Oh, good. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, Bonnie? You jumped. There we are. 8 months, no contact, and they are all still tearing me apart and smearing me. And we hold our head up high and walk away, right? Is all you can do. There's no defending it. There's no just block as much as you can. Let them smear. Honestly, those that matter will stay with you. Those that don't, I can say most of us have it whittled down to very few people in our lives by the time we're about a year out. Okay. Most of us, often, not all of us, but a lot of us end up with very, very, very few people in our lives. But then you know what? It opens up to new people or new experiences or experiences of yourself. And it's okay. Okay. You had lots of fleas from the relationship. I think we do. We get that, especially the longer we've been with them and if we grew up with it, Other things that clued me in, says Web Education, were from the outside. Her friend said she was a runner, meaning running away, I'm assuming. Her brother's wife's mom said she does not treat him right. A woman took one look at her photo and said, "You're going to have issues with that one." I have no idea what she saw. Interesting. Some people can see it in photos, just in the expressions. Yeah. Iraq says that's totally what I feel I keep experiencing. Okay. Try looking, like I said, try looking outside of the relationship for areas where your instincts, your intuition, your gut, and reality match. And it's okay that what you're living is what you're living, and you're trauma bonded and you're in a situation you can't get out of right this second. So no self-shame in the fact that you are going against your gut. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is it's just acknowledge it so that you can see, oh, that's why I'm not trusting myself. Okay. But I can learn to trust myself again, or for the first time or whatever. Persinia, hello. We're trying to set some sort of boundary by reactive abuse. Exactly. And we can't get out so easy because of the trauma bond. We're trying to do that. Yeah. And we're trying to be treated fair. And that being treated fair is setting a boundary, right? Exactly. That's why a new relationship feels boring. It can feel exciting too. You know what? Well, that's another topic, but it can feel exciting to be around new people when you learn to trust your instincts, because then what you get to see is a reflection of a truth versus a reflection of, it just depends on intention. That's a whole nother topic and would be an interesting one. Going on a year and a half and still experiencing the trauma bond. Why is that, Misty? What's going on? Web Education says Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza was validating. Okay. I haven't heard that. Lise, I think the betrayal is the worst. But like you said, when we see it, we see who they really are and the things that they did. They're not worth it. They are not worth it. Nope. I'm way off topic here. That's okay, right? I cut out most of my closest friends and family. I've been attracting these types of people my whole life. No wonder constant disrespect seem like normal relationship. Isn't it freeing? So nice. Yeah, it's lonely, but it's okay. Find other things. Let's see. Okay. All right. Anything else, you guys? Oh, we're almost at an hour. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about with either the topic of what we were talking about, which is, what were we talking about? How we discovered this abuse. And so let's talk a few minutes about how you can't unsee it. You can unsee it. You can bury yourself in dissociative disbelief. You can justify it. So if you look at the things that you're doing to live your life, if you are in a state of constant dissociation from your relationship, if you're in a state where you're justifying the behaviors of another person, if you're in a state where you're justifying the behaviors of why you are with another person, if you're constantly researching what is the matter with me, if you're constantly researching things like rage, anger, gaslighting, attachment styles, what else? What else, guys? Help me out. Cheating, things like that. If you're constantly researching things, why doesn't he love me? Why does she do that? You know, those kind of questions. If you're constantly doing that, something is up. And that's when it's a point to decide, I'm not going to look away. We tend to look away because we are attached to this person. We're trauma bonded. We love them. We do not love ourselves enough, right? Because of all of the trauma bonds and the fact that you're with someone toxic, it diminishes your ability to have self-love for most people. I've never heard somebody say, you know what, I came out of that relationship so full of self-love. You know, honestly, I'm sure people have the experience of not staying in very long and still having that. But when I'm talking, 5 years or more, or when you had it your whole life, I've not heard that a whole lot of people coming through it on the other side with no effort, just like being discarded and being like, oh yeah, I'm so full of self-love. No, it's getting to where if you're looking at all those negative things and you're justifying and all the things that I listed, something's up. And that's the time to decide you're not going to unsee what you're seeing and start looking it square in the eyes. We have to see the narcissistic person, the toxic person, whatever they are, for who they are. We have to see the relationship for what it is and stop trying to justify and fix it, because it's not fixable. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I can never go back to the way things were before, which is good, right? We spend so much time figuring them out just to find out they're not worthwhile. That's beautiful. We spend so much time trying to figure them out just to find out they are not worthwhile. You know what? That is the point. When you raise your self-worth enough to see what you should be in your life, what would benefit your life and the life of the other person, you realize that it's not them that needs to be devaluing you. It's you that needs to be devaluing them. And I don't mean that in a mean way, like, oh, let's devalue them. I mean, truly seeing them for what they are and putting their value from way up here where we think it is to where it actually is. We let it devalue on its own naturally, because it will. You suddenly see they aren't worth it, right? Okay. I find myself getting more aware and stronger and letting myself not get disrespected. It's kind of a cumulative awakening and strengthening every month. It's a little miracle, but now easy, good, excellent. I can never go back to the way things were. That's what you said. Okay. My friends said it to me. So did the police. It was abuse, right? And what made you listen, Suzanne? A therapist once said, if you live in the middle of the road I'm going to try that again. If you live in the middle of the road in uncertainty, that it's really a bad thing. My constant second guessing myself was a sign too. I never had second guessed myself much before. Right. Because you're justifying. The second guessing and the justifying of behaviors is a huge clue that something's up. First, he discarded me, says Suzanne. Okay. My ex's friends and family used to thank me for being with him. Right? I think I got that too. They also asked me why I was with him. I found it odd and ignored it. I shouldn't have. Well, shouldn't, whatever. The only reason to say I shouldn't have is so someone else reading that, if that is their situation, can go, oh my gosh, that's happening to me, right? But for you, you do what you do in the moment. We all do it. We justify, we make excuses, we turn a blind eye, and we hope and we hope and we hope for things that can't be. It's all right. How to not be angry and defensive. I think I missed something, Jack. What are you asking? Can you ask that again if that's a question? Otherwise, I'm a little lost just because I'm reading too many different things at once. That was to Jack. Trauma, amnesia, and dissociation. Narcissists can up the abuse to use these two things so that you cannot remember the abuse. Be careful. Yes, they can. Good point, Mo Cowboy. Hannah Lee, yes, I wouldn't even tell anyone else about the things that happened because I know they would still remember it when I felt better. You know what? Sometimes that's what it takes. It's telling someone that if you tell that person, you can't unsay it, so that you're held accountable to your own life, so that you can get out. Sometimes it's what it takes. It takes saying it out loud so that if you were to go back on it, you at least have to look at it, okay? Not that you want to build shame. For some people, that's way too harsh. And for other people, that is what it takes. It just depends on you. I was pretending to everyone else and myself. I know. And see, and that's why we lose self-trust, self-respect, self-worth. That's why it's part of it. We all do it. So hopefully you're able to be rebuilding that part of your life, Hannah, because that's where you find the freedom afterwards. Hannah, Nikki is saying she did exactly that too and hid everything so that they would like him. Right. We don't want people to, it's a reflection on us, but it's also a reflection on them. We don't want people to not like them. Right. Until we don't care anymore. And then we just don't care. I don't care if people like him or don't like him. I really don't. But I'm not going to pretend he's not what he is, something that he isn't anymore. When the narcissists do their smear campaign, they make up stuff. The stories get wilder and more bizarre in time. They sure do. I have had several awakenings, says Mo Cowboy, when I knew what was happening and ready to get out. Written in my journal, and then bam, trauma amnesia. I was trapped again. Get out while you can. That's a good advice. Get out while the feeling's hot, right? Go with it. When you feel that feeling of what is happening, look, I can see it. Get out. Because you're right. The trauma and the abuse amnesia will kick in. And there you are right back again. You have a great day too, Web Education. We're going to end here in just a minute. If anyone has anything else, add it and I will read it, or any other questions. Hannah says, you're so right. The way I left was telling my family everything and having them hold me accountable. And you know what? If you do it with the right people, the reason it matters, what they think is because they love you, right? And they want what's best for you. And they're able to reflect back to you that you can love yourself. Because it really is about, it's not about being accountable to other people. It helps, but it's really about being accountable to yourself to get out. And it's very hard. And okay. How in the world do the narcissists do this? Are they brilliant, evil? Do they initiate? It's just manipulation. It's not brilliance at all. And it's not even, I don't even consider it evil. I just consider it childish and lacking in empathy and lacking in accountability. Those two things together are just, it's childlike, emotionally immature, and not, it's self-oriented only. And so if you're trying to manipulate everything, that's how they do it. It's all manipulation. It's manipulation to serve their ego, to serve themselves. That's all it is, in my opinion. I don't like to build them up as anything more than pretty sad people that don't know how to function emotionally around other people. Lise, we didn't see because we are focused on how to do better. Yes, exactly. We're focused on fixing it. Bonnie says, I lost decades being used, manipulated, and abused by some family members. Painful. It's so painful. So now what? Now you get you, right? Don't lose any more. Don't lose any more time. Daniel says, I think the hardest pill to swallow is that they have no accountability for their actions. It really is. That's why I say it every single day. I just wish I could expose all of what she is. What you expose is all of who you are. You be powerful and strong and in yourself, and learn to love yourself again, trust yourself again. And that's what you expose to the world. It's a contrast to who they are. And it doesn't, at a certain point, she won't matter. Exposing it won't matter because, I mean, I could sit here and expose everything, right? I'm on live. I could sit here and I could tell you stories with names and, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't matter. It just gives power and supply back to the person, right? So it's about us. I call them narcissist diaper babies. Yeah. I had somebody say to me, Lise, why do you like man babies? I just, oh, okay. Oh, no, it was baby mans. Why do you like baby mans? Tell us, Lise. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give any supply. All right. It's 100% childishness, but what about the malignant Machiavellian? And that I would need to go on a whole different topic with. What now? Right. I feel that way, Nancy. What now? Now we get to be authentic. Yes, we do, says Sweet Pink. I like that. Whatever that is, it's beautiful. You get to discover you. Okay. This is the part of self-discovery that it's scary, not having them there to tell us what and who we are, but you've always been you. She's there. It's very scary and it's very exciting. So I want to know who you are. And that's the thing is good people actually want to know who you are, right? Who are you, right? And you can be that for yourself too. Every day is a new day. I won't lose any more decades to the narcissistic family members. My mom with dementia was crying the other day because I haven't been around for a while. Oh, well, okay, yeah, right. I know when they're narcissists, it's even then, it is the discovery of a new life that Bonnie is saying. Okay. All right, you guys. I hope that was somewhat useful to talk about. And if there's anything related to the topic that we didn't talk about that you want to add for other people, put it in the comments section, please, not in the chat, so that they can see it and read it if they like. If I'm going to end now and we will come back tomorrow. Let's talk about anxiety maybe. Yeah. It's a good one. Okay. If I can get it together and not be anxious. You're welcome, Hannah. Thank you, Nikki. And you're welcome. And Missy and Bonnie. Okay. So I'm thinking anxiety tomorrow, unless something pressing comes up or somebody has an issue they want to talk about that is in need at the moment. And I don't know what time tomorrow. I'm sorry. I will try. I haven't looked at my schedule yet. So, okay. If you have not subscribed and you enjoy this live streams or any of the videos on this channel, hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications so you get notifications. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this topic or this talk. Helps me know what people like. And also, if you would like notifications texted to you, the text number is 33222. Send the words Lise Live, LISELIVE, all one word. And I will send you a text 5 to 10 minutes before I go live. And that is the only text I send. So there's that. I will be putting my article that I just wrote in the main description of this in about 2 minutes. And that's it. So anyway, thank you guys. It's always fun. Bye. Have a good day.